Alright, hello everyone. This is a beginner's guide to BDO, and it's just going to really walk you through what you should really be doing and focusing on in your first 2 weeks. Maybe first month, who knows. Alright, so I'll assume everyone knows how to create a character, but this is the character creation screen. Just going to make a new character for this. So these are all the classes. So I guess I'll give a quick overview of the classes and their awakenings, because at level 56 you get your awakening, and the awakening changes how the class plays massively. Warrior goes from using a sword and shield, as you can see down here, to using a great sword and becoming fairly mobile actually. Very strong in 1v1, powerful in group fights as well due to his good defenses and super armors. He's definitely a very solid class. The ranger, um, so she uses a bow until she gets to her awakening, at which point she transitions to using a sword and wind elemental magic. So she's a very nimble sort of speedster type class. And the current complaints with the ranger is that she's very dependent on mana potions. She has a fast clear, she's very mobile, she's great in 1v1s, not quite as good in Node Wars, but she's okay. However, she uses a lot of mana potions. And if you're looking for a bow class, currently she kind of abandons her bow at level 56. However, with the new second awakening that's coming out, there is a chance that the ranger will start using her bow a bit more. So if you want to have a bow, ranger is probably the go-to. Sorceress is a sort of melee dark magic user, and she stays that way in awakening. Pre-awakening, she has a bunch of casting spells as well. However, once she awakens, she gets a massive scythe and becomes almost like a Grim Reaper sort of character, dancing in and out of enemies. Sorceress has a huge learning curve. There's lots of animation cancels and other abilities you can use to maximize your damage, to use your iframes properly, to properly use your abilities. However, if you get to, it can be very rewarding. So yeah, that's Sorceress. Berserker is great at 1v1s, and in Node Wars he's basically used to tie an opponent down because he has this massive grab combo that can keep you CC'd for 6 or 7 seconds at the very least. It's huge. He'll just grab you, slam you, throw you, pick you up, grab you again. It's insane. He uses double axes pre-awakening. Once he awakens, he gets a hand cannon, basically a giant cannon mounted on his arm. Um, his clearing's okay. His clearing speed's fine. He's good in Node Wars. He's not a bad choice. The Tamer is a lolly class. She has a giant ink summon that she can bring. You can kind of see it down here. All the ink effects, and she'll summon a giant ink dog called Heilang to help her out and do damage. There's currently a bug with the Tamer where she takes 30% more magic damage, which makes her very difficult, especially as the current top three classes, not counting Striker, are Wizard, Witch, and Dark Knight, who all use magic damage. However, the Tamer, similar to Sorceress, has a lot of variance in skill levels. If you can master all her iframes, master all her animation cancels, then you can become a very strong character. And the Tamer is probably one of the best 1v1 characters in the game if you can get all that down. However, she does have some bugs. She takes more magic damage than other characters. And farming with her is very. Well, I mean, it's painful. You're going to want gear, but it can become manageable later on. And if you like the class, definitely go for it. The Striker is the newest class available in North America. His female counterpart, the Mystic, will be released in Q4 of 2017, so should be in the next month or two, we hope. Probably by October or November. The Striker is a sort of martial artist that also uses street fighting techniques. He's got a lot of very powerful, very flashy looking kicks, and what's interesting about the Striker is that he uses his pre-awakening a lot, even post-awakening. Post-awakening, the Striker, he doesn't really change too much. He gets something called the Echo Spirit, which is a clone, um, and that helps in a lot and features a lot of his attacks. However, he also has a lot of ways to come in and out of awakening that just feature and flow through combos that he can do pre-awakening and in awakening to seamlessly transition between the two. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. The Striker when he was released, he was a bit lackluster. However, they buffed him in successive patches. Patch after patch in Korea, he got buffed, and then they came over here. And the Striker is one of the most powerful characters in the game right now. If you are playing a magic-based class, a Striker is very difficult to beat because they take less magic damage than anyone else. Kind of like the Tamer, except in reverse, where the Tamer takes more, Striker takes less. And he also does not need that much AP to destroy people. He's a lot of fun. You should definitely give him a try if you're interested in the playstyle. And like I said, the Mystic is the female version, and that will be coming out in North America in the next few months. You can already see it in action in Korea. So if you feel you want to wait, then the Striker does share the same main hand and offhand as the Mystic. However, he will not be sharing the same Awakening weapon. That's actually a feature of quite a few classes. There will be male and female counterparts that share the same main hand and offhand weapons, but have different awakenings. Warrior shares with Valkyrie. They both use sword and shield, and then the Valkyrie switches to a lance, the warrior to a greatsword. Sorceress does not have a male counterpart. Berserker does not have a female counterpart. Ranger does not have a male counterpart. Musa and Meiwa both use a blade and a horn bow, and then they switch. They each use a polearm. The Meiwa uses a spear. The Musa uses a glaive. Kunoichi Ninja both share short sword and two. They actually have two. They use the kunai and the shuriken. Uh, the Kunoichi actually uses the kunai more, and the ninja uses the shuriken for special abilities, but they can both use either one. And then Wizard and Witch both use a staff and a dagger, and then transfer into a sphere kind of thing. And it's back to where we were. So Musa. The Musa is think of like a samurai. He uses a single blade. He has a bow that he uses, and once he awakens, he gets a polearm, a glaive, which is basically kind of like a sword on a stick, I guess is the easiest way to describe it. So the Musa has the fastest PvE clearing speed in the game at good gear levels. However, getting there can be painful, and the Musa is not in a good state right now, as of this video, PvP-wise. He's, my original class was Musa. I had one to 56, and just, you can be 20, 30 AP and DP more than someone, and if they're playing a class like Valk or Dark Knight or any other class that can do well on a lower gear score, they can still beat you fairly easily, even at lower gear score like 120 AP, 150 DP, where 20 points actually matters less and more. It's hard to explain. And there's an exponential scaling for gear in this game. Meiwa is kind of the opposite of Musa. Same weapons, uses a spear instead of a glaive, and where Musa has amazing PvE clear speed and is bad in PvP, Meiwa she's kind of like Tamer in that she has a slower PvE clear speed. As Meiwa, because she uses a spear, she has a lot of frontal cones for her abilities. So if you kind of look at this chart right here, you can pretend that the Meiwa's down at the bottom of the combo, and her attacks kind of go out in front of her like a cone instead of all around her like a Musa's would, because a Musa likes to spin like a helicopter. However, she's very good in 1v1 situations, and both Musa and Meiwa have an ability called Chase. For Meiwa, I believe the term is Slate Steps, which makes they're probably the fastest characters in the game. It's very difficult to catch up to a good Musa or Meiwa, and especially if they have potions to just keep chasing away and are animation canceling it properly. Very few classes. Maybe a Ranger can do it. That's the only one I can really think of. But yeah, Meiwa is a very good class. She uses spear, so if you're into spears, definitely look at Meiwa. If you're into polearms, Sorceress, Musa, and Meiwa all use polearms, and then the Valkyrie uses a lance, which is kind of like a polearm. Speaking of Valkyrie, the Valkyrie. So the Valkyrie is basically the paladin of Black Desert. And Black Desert does not use the traditional MMO Holy Trinity of healer, DPS, and tank. However, they do have tankier characters and more damagey characters. And the Valk is one of the tankiest characters. She has multiple self-heals and self-sustain options. She has a very powerful block ability. And once she gets her awakening, she gets a very respectable amount of burst. Like, fighting a good Valk in a 1v1 can actually be terrifying. They have very powerful burst, very powerful holy magic, and Very decent CC as well. Velk is a very strong class. Kunoichi and Ninja, um, they're both kind of similar. Kunoichi, so pre-awakening, they're both basically the same. Kunoichi Awakening uses a chakram, so a massive metal boomerang, or not boomerang, a massive metal frisbee basically with a hollow center that she spins around her. She has more AoE damage than a ninja, and currently Kunoichi is considered the better class. Even in 1v1s, which is where they both excel, neither of them are great for Node Wars. However, they are both amazing 1v1 classes, very similar to Tamer. Um, and yeah, they're good classes. Ninja, instead of the chakram, he uses the Sura Katana, which is basically a set of three katanas that he uses to set up for some powerful attacks. The ninja has some problems with his iframes right now. They don't last very long, and a lot of ninjas complain about several bugs with the class. However, good ninjas can destroy someone 1v1. They have slow clear speeds, just like the Kunoichi and the Meiwa and the Tamer. However, a good ninja in a 1v1 spot, so if you're fighting for your spot later in the game against someone, can destroy other classes fairly easily, depending on the class. So don't, just because a ninja has slow clear speed, don't think that, hey, it's useless. It's actually a fairly fun class. Dark Knight is the newest class before Striker, and she is a lot of fun. People describe Dark Knight as basically Sorceress but better, where Sorceress have to work and animation cancel and put a lot of effort into all of their abilities. The Dark Knight has a lot of powerful abilities. She doesn't need to animation cancel, and a lot of her abilities are massive AoEs too, especially once she awakens. Pre-awakening, she uses a Kriegsmesser, which is a sort of two-handed sword that's a bit slimmer, kind of like an elfin make, which makes sense as she is an elf. Post-awakening, she uses the Vidiant, and that's a sort of metal armor that she puts on her right hand that lets her commune with spirits and use powerful spirit magic. She has a lot of dashes, she's very mobile, and has a lot of iframes, invincibility frames. Um, and she's a very powerful class. There's a lot of memes about how she doesn't take very much skill, but a good Dark Knight will fuck you up. She will fuck it up, and she's very viable at lower gear scores. Um, where a Musa at 130 AP can still struggle to properly clear monsters, even stuff like rogues. He won't have problems dying, but he will clear them somewhat more slowly. A Dark Knight can practically one-shot the packs. A very powerful class. Also the most played class, so you'll definitely want to know that it's most played class because it means the items for Dark Knight are always sold out. It can be very difficult to get your boss weapons for a Dark Knight. The Wizard. Okay, the Wizard and the Witch, the last two classes. And these are interesting because they are caster classes in a very melee focused game. They both, pre-awakening, they both play exactly the same. They have a lot of support abilities. They're probably the best support classes in the game, despite having a ton of damage. Um, Before 56, you basically just spam. You can just spam Chain Lightning and use Mana Drain off cooldown. Um, Maybe you can throw in some other spells when you're fighting bosses. Post 56, they both awaken, and the wizard is a bit more offensively focused. He'll get a bit more closer to the enemies in his awakening. He's still not melee, but he has a lot of abilities that he'll jump right up to them and cause explosions and massive damage. And he also gets a grab at 56. The witch, on the other hand, instead of a grab, she gets a block, and her spells are a bit longer range, so she stays a bit farther in the back, making her a bit safer. Both of these classes are absolutely amazing in group PvP. In 1v1 PvP, they're fairly easy to fight because their abilities can have long cast times, massive damage, huge AoE, but long cast times, which means that as long as a player is smart, they can just get out of the way and get behind them and abuse them for it. But in group PvP, they're massive support abilities. They have an AoE heal for their team, they have a self heal, they have a something called Protected Ground, which is massive, especially if you stack up multiple wizards and witches for their protected ground. Wizards and witches are in huge demand for all serious guilds just because of how powerful they are. And they're also, just like Dark Knight, they're very powerful at low gear scores. They're even more powerful than Dark Knight. They have less mobility, but their damage is massive. Their accuracy modifiers are insane, and their AoE is huge. You can do the clear if you play another class other than Wizard, Witch, or Dark Knight, and you go with one to farm, it's there's a huge difference, and you'll see it. So those are the classes. So for this, let's make a Meiwa. All right. So press creation. Should do a small walk forward, and so you can either do your own customization, which you can play around with that. There's a lot of stuff. The only thing I like to do is set my horoscope to boat. And then there's a beauty album that you can apply. Go to the beauty album, go to download rank, and you'll see all these different creations of other people in the community, and you can apply those. No save custom file. And then you can also save your own files, so I'll just use the one I made earlier, May 1. And this is my Meiwa. Let's change one more thing, I guess. Not that. Here it is. And don't worry too much about the customization. Like, definitely, if you want, you can make it exactly how you want, but you'll get value packs as a new player, and the value pack will allow you to completely change your your character's appearance anytime you want, as long as the value pack is active, and it will stay that way after the value pack is done. All right, so that looks good. So let's think up a character name. No, that is not what I want to name my character. I'm not blank, unfortunately. So let's name her Kybrea. There we go. Alright, and then you can just connect to the game. So now processing. So your first character, every character, not just for your first, will start out in Alvia. And alright, there's an animation. For your first character, you'll want to watch this, as it's actually pretty. This will give you the lore of the story, and you can follow along later. But I will just skip that. So do the tutorial to learn how to play. So Black Spirit will talk to you. Are you alright? Blah, blah, blah. And then your character will walk around. And this is just the Black Spirit showing you the very basics of the game. So once you've gone through this, and you can just skip the tutorial if you don't want to do it. Running around a bit. So I spoke earlier about Ranger being the bow class. Yes, Musa and Meiwa have a bow. However, it only features in a few attacks. Musa will use it in his crowd control combos later on in the game for PvP. However, that's pretty much it. Alright, so that is the start of the game. So you basically just want to follow the tutorial. It'll tell you everything you need to do. Don't want to accept that yet. That's not a quest for you guys, don't worry. So once you go a bit further on, in the game, you'll unlock the UI, you'll unlock everything. So let's just we'll zoom through this. Sheath my sword. Well, my blade, I guess it is. That's not actually a sword. And this is a pretty big one. Press the T key to auto run. This is a massive feature of Black Desert. Just turn that off. You can set it anywhere on the map. Well, not during the tutorial session, but by right-clicking anywhere on the map, you can put a waypoint there, and your character will auto-path to it, which is huge, especially because there's no teleporting in the game. There's a single portal in the desert that leads you somewhere. However, it only takes you to one spot, and you don't really want to go to the desert. Just go to there. You can just so this is the skill I was talking about earlier, chase. And this is the Musa and Meiwa's bow skill. They have a few others, such as arrow grapple, but they don't really do much. So here it just teaches you some basic combos. Tells you to bring out the Black Spirit. And hey, what do you know? You get some killing quests. Alright, so we've just unlocked the UI. So the UI, it can be a little overwhelming at first. So if you look up here, these are skill points, energy, and contribution points. Skill points as you kill things. So let me just kill something here. You will gain skill point XP. Black Spirit's trying to give me a quest, but let me just finish this. And as you can see, combat skill points obtained. So that's pretty big. Early on, it might not seem like you ever really need too many skill points, but once you get your awakening, so if I just press K to bring up skills here, so you can see 3 out of 3 skill points. And these are all the pre-awakening skills. And once you get your awakening, you can use skills from either one. And so for the awakening, if I just quickly look at some stuff here, required points, 12 or 12, and then 23, and then 37. And you're going to want basically all of these eventually. So 68 or higher, so even just 58, 30, 33, 30, 23, 58, 35, 36, 15, 32. So you can see you're going to need a ton of skill points. And by the time you're about 56, you'll probably have about 400 or 500 skill points. And to get everything you want, you probably want about 11 to 1200 skill points. And you'll just get those eventually as you grind. You can also get some by doing other quests in the game that will reward you with skill points. Some events can sometimes reward you with skill points, and you'll just eventually unlock them. So that's the UI. You can also see there's a mini-map up here on the top right. Here's your quest log. These buttons up here are actually pretty important, especially this one. This is the NPC button. And so it brings up a list of NPCs, and if you left click on any of these, it'll auto-path you to the nearest one. So if I now press T, my character will start running to the nearest repair center, the nearest NPC that can perform repairs on my gear. Same with storage, same with wharf, goods, jeweler, worker. So the worker is, he's where you hire your workers. And so I guess while we're on the subject, so close the nearby NPC. Oh, and you can also do a search for NPCs, so either by name or by title. So energy is what you use to do gathering, as well as to interact with some NPCs and gain knowledge, which is what unlocks energy if you complete your knowledge. So if I bring up knowledge with H here, this is your knowledge. Just go to topography here, Balanos, which is where we are, Western Balanos. So for example, Alvia. So discovering Alvia will get you the knowledge about Alvia. And then there's all this, and then once you've discovered all these places, you get 2 energy. And that's 2 maximum energy. So your energy, you've got a pool of energy that's shared between all characters. Each character has the same maximum amount of energy, which starts at, I believe it's 30. However, each character has their own pool of energy, which they use when they're doing gathering and stuff. So even though all characters will start with 30 energy, you can have a character that currently has all 30 energy, another character that only has 17 energy right now, and characters will regenerate 1 energy every 12 hours while not online, and 1 energy every 5 minutes while online, or 3 minutes, I think. And there's ways to to increase that energy. Apart from just getting knowledge, there are, well, it won't increase energy, but there's ways to restore the energy, I guess is what I want to say. There's beds. You can either buy a normal bed or get a cash shop bed. A normal bed will, when you lie in it, restore an extra energy every tick, and a cash shop bed will restore 2 extra energy every tick. There's a Blessing of Kama Sylvia, which sometimes they're giving it for some events, and you can also buy one for loyalties. So just let me find it here, right here, the Blessing of Kama Sylvia. So energy recovery +2, item obtain chance +20%, and you can only buy a 1-day one for 1,000 loyalties, which is 10 days for the loyalty. So maybe if you really need loyalties for, say, there's a night vendor event or something going on, but apart from that, you don't really want to buy it too often. And then contribution points, these are huge for your passive income. So I guess I'll get to that in a bit. To get contribution points, you get experience for it every time you do a quest, you'll be given contribution XP points. Just autopath towards the next quest. And cooking will give you a byproduct. So one of the things that you get from whenever you do cooking, which is one of the life skills, just bring those up. You've got gathering, processing, cooking, alchemy, training, fishing, hunting, trading, farming, and sailing. So when you're doing cooking or alchemy, you can get a byproduct in addition to whatever you're cooking. So I can be cooking, let's say apple pie. I'm not even sure if apple pie is in the game. Beer. Beer is what you spend most of your time cooking. So I can be cooking beer, and I will also get contribution a food that I can use as a turn-in to get me contribution point experience. And I believe it's 12 of them will give you 1 XP, something like that. 120? 120 of them is 1 contribution point XP. But yeah, so that's contribution points. So as you just follow the tutorial, it'll teach you how to do combat. You've got your basic just auto attack, which is the left mouse button. You've got E, which is your basic buttons for combat are E, F. F is usually a kick for most classes. Q, which for classes with block will always be block. E, which is either an attack, or on class with a grab will be the grab. And then you've got shift, which is a modifier. So if I just use a normal auto attack, that's what it looks like. If I hold shift, I will, on this character, I'll do Carver. So yeah, that's the basics of combat. And as you play the game, you'll find skills that work for you. You can unlock more skills that for inputs, and each one will show you. There's a nifty little video guide under each skill that shows you what it looks like and what the inputs are, and it also shows you the input in the skill itself. So you just follow the Black Spirit quest until you, at the very least, follow it until you reach the Ancient Stone Chamber. It's not very far away. It's fairly close, actually. It's probably about 20 or 30 minutes if you're following along doing the story, and then it's a little more, or it's a little less actually. Sorry, it's probably about 10 minutes if you know what you're doing. So I guess I'll just bring my pets out. And the reason you want to at least get to the Ancient Stone Chamber is because you can't enhance anything. So if I bring up my Black Spirit here, just to show you, you'll see that currently he's just very literally a tiny, cute little blob with red eyes. That's all he is. And as you go through the main story, your Black Spirit will evolve. And the first evolution he does is in the Ancient Stone Chamber, and he'll get teeth. That's all. I won't tell you about anything else, just in case you care about the lore and the story. But he'll get teeth, and once he gets teeth, you'll have an option when you bring him up to enhance your gear, which is very important. Currently, we've only had these 3 options: go back, quest, and escape. So literally, we only have one actual option. So just use divider to kill some stuff here. And so I recommend for anyone new to the game to just follow the Black Spirit quest until you get to level 50 at the very least, because that'll get you the Catfish quest. You don't need to follow the quest to get level 50. That quest will automatically come up. But it'll take you to level appropriate areas. It'll give you fairly decent rewards, and it'll give you um, inventory spots. So if I open my character's inventory, as you can see, currently I have 40 spots. However, 16 of those spots are because I have a value pack active. And you can't see it just yet because we're still in the tutorial. But I have a buff that'll appear in the top left of the screen right next to my UI that shows that I have a value pack. And that gives you 16 extra inventory slots as long as it's active. It's basically the subscription for this game. But yeah, so the best way for your first character is just to follow the Black Spirit quest. You'll get inventory spots. You'll get good stuff. He'll show you how to enhance gear. He'll show you how to basically do anything. However, if you don't feel like doing that, you just want to get combat ready as soon as possible, because you want to play this game for the PvP. Then what you should do is once you've followed a few Black Spirit quests, probably up until the point where you can outlevel it. You can even stop following as soon as you just get to the Ancient Stone Chamber. As soon as you get there, just stop doing it and just start grinding for levels. And as a new player, you're allowed onto the Alvia server. And servers, a lot of players ask, okay, what server do I need to choose? It doesn't matter what server you choose. You can literally do a server change and hop to any server you want, except for the Alvia server, because that's only for new players or returning players who have not played for 30 days. And you only get to be on that server for 30 days from the time you start being allowed onto the server. And in that time, you get 100% bonus experience, literally double XP. And that is quite big. We get that every weekend, so Saturday and Sunday, and that does not stack with the Alvia server. However, getting it all week is huge. And you can also only be on the Alvia server if you're below level 59, so up to level 58.999. However, that's not really an issue for most players unless they're planning to play hardcore, because leveling up to 59 is actually a pretty big task. Level 1 to 50, you can do, if you know what you're doing, you can do it within about, if you have the gear and everything, people have done it in about 20 minutes. However, without the gear and everything, it'll probably take you about 2 to 3 hours, maybe a bit more. And then 50 to 56, that's a few more hours, depending on if you're doing it yourself, if you have gear or not, and if you are in the best spots for XP, or if you're in a more mediocre spot. So I guess I'll just bring up the map here and show you what my rotation is for leveling for the people that care. So when you finish the Ancient Stone Chamber quest, I'd advise you at least go do the final quest it gives you right after that, which is to kill Red Nose, which will take you over to here, which is right now, just east of Velia. It'll take you here, actually, sorry. And then from there, you should be about level 10 or 12. So you can go kill goblins on your way down. Grab a horse if you can. If you don't have a horse, go to the stable, which is this guy right here, Lorenzo Murray. You can just use the NPC to get to it, but it might take you to the Alvia stable if you're not close enough. So make sure you're going over here, buy yourself a horse. Black Spirit will give you this as a quest, and you'll get a free one later on, but horses do not cost much. Buy yourself a horse, come over here, kill goblins. Make sure to always park your horse or donkey in a safe spot, because nearby monsters will attack them, and they can kill them, which is annoying. So kill goblins until you're about level 12 to 13. Then run down here, take care of altar imps until you're about level 19 or 20. Once you hit that, run down over here, kill these guys in the castle ruins until you're about 22. Run over to Swamp Nagas till 24, 25. Once you're done with that, it's a bit south, right? Yep. Come to the Bloody Monastery. You can stay here till like level 30. This place is amazing, and you don't even need to do all these. You can actually go right to level 20 on altar imps, right here, and then just run straight south to Swamp Naga, straight south to Bloody Monastery. Once you get about level 30, you're going to want to make yourself way over here, and you're going to want to go to the refugee camp. But before you go there, stop by the Red Orc camp, kill until you level 31, run north, kill the Crudas until you're at level 33, 34, and then you go to the refugee camp. Stay here until you're 40, and then you're going to want to go over here to Marnie's lab. So it's directly southeast of Calphion, literally just a diagonal line. There's something called chimeras here on a hill. You'll kill these until you're about level 45. They're amazing XP. And then you'll want to run after 45. So there's a few things you can do. Either stay to like 46 even if you want, and then run to the Sonel camp till 48.50, or just run straight to Manchas if you've got decent enough gear. You don't need to have amazing gear. Okay gear is all you really need, like +7 weapon and +5 armor. Just make sure that you're not too underleveled, but level 47, 48 should be fine. Run to Manchas, kill these till you're level 50, 51, 52. Manchas are great for learning to grind. They've got big pack sizes. You can also do Catfishmen. Those are another favorite of people's. They're both good for learning to grind. And then once you're about level 50 to 52, that's when you want to leave there. As long as you have about 80 to 90 AP, preferably about 100, leave there and come to Helms. And you can train it all the way to 56 here, or you can try and join a group that is farming the Saucen Garrison right here. And if you can find a good group that's running around and just either offer yourself as a pack meal, just pick up items to sell on the market for them. They'll automatically go to the market. You don't have to worry about selling them. You'll just pick them up and they'll be sent to the market automatically. And you'll make really good money and really good XP here if you can find a good group to take you in. Finding a group can be a problem, but it's not too hard. Just look in server chat. People advertise all the time. They're looking for groups. And yeah, this is actually the best spot in the game at the moment, which is kind of a problem for mid-level players that want to grind here. But yeah, if you can find a group here, that'll get you 56 really easily at probably 2 or 3 hours. And so that's basically the roadmap to 56. And then after that, you just want to get better gear, slowly grind your way up. If you plan to become competitive right away on Alvia, then you're going to want to grind to 59 on Alvia because it's easier to do it on Alvia than it is on the normal servers. For a few reasons. Not just the double XP, because we get those on the weekends, right? But also because there's less good players on Alvia. On Alvia, unless there's a returning player that hasn't played for a while and used to be a good player, you're not going to find people that are able to just murder you. Most of the time anyways. And if you're a competitive player, the people that you find are probably going to be just like you, looking to become competitive, so you can probably fight them anyways. Which means that on Alvia, you can actually fight in the Saucen Garrison, or you can go, so I haven't discovered it yet, but over here, there's some islands, and this is where you do pirates. And there's a, is it here? Might be over here. It's near Portaferia. So around here somewhere. Yeah, up here. Here you can see them. Pirates. And these are the other best spot in the game for XP. And you can actually get the rotations as a not so well geared player without boss gear, without good items on the Alvia servers. And these are some of the best money in the game, along with Saucen Garrison. Pirates and Saucens are the best spots in the game for both money and XP. So on Alvia, if you take advantage of that, you can make a lot of money. So if you want to get competitive as soon as possible, while you have the Alvia server active, grind as much as possible. Try to get to at least level 58, if not 59. 58 is about pretty much where you can start doing PvP properly. You'll have unlocked some of your flow skills. You'll have unlocked second levels in your main powerful skills for your awakening. And you're just becoming a more powerful player overall. Try and upgrade your gear as much as possible, and try and take the good spots while you still can on Alvia. Anyways, so as we're talking about gear, so let me just open up the marketplace here. So for gear, buy it as you can. As a new player, obviously you're not going to be able to buy it all right away. However, for armor, you have two choices. You can go full Grunel set, which is more powerful. However, the problem with Grunel is that once you start getting boss gear, so let me just type that in for a second. So this is one of the pieces of boss gear. Ugh. There's an apostrophe. So Beg's gloves. So boss gear has yellow letters. That's what boss gear is, and it won't have ultimate in front of it because you can make gear with the yellow letters, but it won't be ultimate. And boss gear is the best gear in the game. It's the best in slot. Armor can be used on any character in this game, which is big because that means that your ults can just use your main character's gear that's not their weapon, because weapons are class bound. So I could use my Moose's weapon on my Maewa, but I could not use my Dark Knight's weapon. But I can use both of their armor. And because of that, you only really need to work on one set of armor. And you're going to want to get boss gear eventually. However, before you get boss gear, you have two real options. Grunel, which has a powerful set effect. If you look here, you can see max HP plus 150, all AP plus 5, and all AP plus 2. And that's not actually normal AP, that's all AP, which is a bit weaker, so that's more like 2 AP. But it's still a decent effect. So that's Grunel. Or you can get Heve. And Heve, the big thing about Heve is that you can combine it with boss gear, because Grunel, if you look at the effects, it's armor and shoes set effect and helmet and gloves set effect, which means if I have full Grunel but I take off the helmet, all of a sudden I don't get the all AP plus 5 effect from having helmet and gloves, or the 4 set effect from having all 4 pieces. If I take off the gloves, same deal. So if I want to replace them with the Beg's gloves we just saw, which are some of the best, it's one of the best pieces of gear in the game because of all the accuracy it gives, then I'm going to lose all that effect. However, Heve has 2 and 3 set effects, which means even when you get your first piece of boss gear, you're not going to break any of your effect. And even when you get your second piece of boss gear, you don't really care that much about the 50 HP. It's the 250 that really matters. The plus 250. Plus 50, small potatoes. Plus 250, that's nice. So Grunel will be more powerful if you just want power right away, but Heve is the better choice if you want to transition to boss gear down the line and you don't want to lose your set effect or have to buy a new set of gear. As for your armor, so each class has different armors, but there's different names. There's Uria, there's Kreia, and the one you want for most classes is Rosar. Now Rosar and Kreia are the 2 best, mostly because they have 2 crystal slots, which you can, if I go to look at magic crystals here, looking at weapons for example, magic crystals are pretty powerful. For example, precision gives you accuracy plus 8, and accuracy is pretty big in PvP because it lets you hit other players better, and more of your abilities will hit, which is huge. So Rosar and Kreia are the 2 you want to get. Some people say that Yuri is good, but that's kind of from when the game was just released, before Rosar or Kreia were in the game. So you should probably get Rosar or Kreia. And then accessories. There's a few accessories. So you've got the Duret set, which is the set you will slowly get in your rookie rewards for being near the game. And the necklace from that is okay. However, for the rest of the stuff, you generally want to replace it. For the ring, you're going to want to use blue or red, actually, they're both fine. So red coral ring, 1 less AP, however it also gives you DP, which is pretty big for a new player. They're both pretty cheap, and that extra DP can actually help quite a lot in not dying. Blue corals are what you'll use eventually, and then when you want a good ring, you'll upgrade to Mark of Shadow. You'll probably get duo ones as your first ones, because Pry, just don't bother getting Pry, just stick with duo blue corals. They're a lot cheaper, and they give you extra mana. However, once you want to upgrade to a decent ring, you'll upgrade to a duo Mark of Shadow, and then eventually to Rings of Crescent Guardian, so duo Ring of Crescent Guardian. And eventually, hopefully, Try or even Tet, but there's only been 12 Tets ever sold, so don't get your hopes up even for Try, only 281. As for the necklace, there's a few options. Your earliest one and the best one are either Durets, or if you can find one, a Tri-Bears. And you can make this on your own. There's plenty of guides out there to making a Tri-Bears. It'll probably cost you about 4 to 5 mil, so don't do it right away. See if you can get a Pry if it's available, but that's what you'll get. And you can also choose to get a Schultz necklace. It starts at 7, then you get 10 AP, which is what the other Bears necklace is. And then you can go up to a Duo, which is more AP. And by the time you're ready to upgrade from this, you should know a lot more about the game, and you'll know which one to upgrade to. As for earring, you can use Bear's earrings. Most people, though, will say to use blue coral earrings. People used to suggest witch's earrings, but blue coral earrings at every stage are only 1 AP less than a witch's earring. So, for example, a Pry one here has 6 AP, whereas a Pry Witches only has 7. Pry Witches doesn't offer the extra thing, and as you can see, Pry Witches is 34 mil, whereas a Pry Blue Coral is 13 mil. So literally half price, which is huge. And for the belt, you're probably going to just want to use either a Duret's belt or a belt of Schultz the Gladiator. And you can usually just get a Pry or even a Duo for fairly cheap. You're probably just going to want to wait on the market. And I'll just show over here. You can put up notices on the market. So if I press that, it'll give me a little notification down here, which you've probably seen a few pop up already, telling you that that item has been put on the market. So, and in 15 minutes, it'll show up, and you can bid on it and try to win it against other people. Alright, so that's what you'll want to do for gear. And I guess I should go through offhand. So each class has a different offhand. That's Awakening. Oops, sub-weapon. For the Mayo and the Musa, for example, what we're currently playing, it's the Hornbow. And the one that they usually want to use is the Blackhorn Warrior Bow right here, because that adds accuracy, and especially for Musa, accuracy is huge. If you want, you can use the Whitehorn Bow, which is the pure AP bow, if you're really lacking AP, but having AP without accuracy is kind of it's kind of a trap. You need accuracy to hit. It doesn't matter if you're doing 300 damage per hit if you're only hitting once every 5 hits, whereas if you're doing 100 damage but you're hitting 4 every 5 hits, you're doing 400 damage as opposed to 300 damage every 5 hits. So having accuracy is good. You don't want to overindulge in accuracy unless your class really needs it, but if you go to the class discords, you can see how much accuracy you really want to get. Some classes like Musa just stack endless accuracy, for example. Other classes, such as Wizard and Witch, don't need that much accuracy, if any. Alright, so that's gear. And if you're going for the heavy set as well, I guess I'll show you that quick. If you're going for the heavy set, one thing is that don't upgrade the chest piece. Don't upgrade the chest piece above +5. That's when it stops being free to upgrade. Maybe +6 if you want. It's free to upgrade from, well, not free, but you cannot fail on upgrading it until after +5. After that, you can fail and your Blackstone will go away. And the reason for that is because the heavy set, you want to mix and match it with an item you'll get from the Black Spirit quest down the line, the Dim Magical Chest Armor, which you can upgrade through the Black Spirit quest to become the Roaring Magical Chest Armor, which is a really powerful chest, comes fully upgraded already, and gives you accuracy, which makes it a really nice piece of equipment. So don't upgrade the chest piece of the heavy set too big if you decide to go with heavy. So in this game, levels matter, which is why you want to level up while you're on the Alvia server if you want to be competitive. If you don't feel like being a competitive PvP player right away, get to like 56, maybe try and get to 57 if you can on the Alvia server. It'll be easier while you're there, but you don't need to. However, the biggest part of this game in terms of power is going to be your gear and your gear stats. So if I just bring up this, you can see I currently have 9 AP, my Rusty Blade, and my Hornbow. And to get better gear, for early on, upgrading your gear is really cheap. For example, that Rosear Blade would upgrade my current AP by like 10, which is basically doubling it. And then upgrading that to +7 would double that again. However, once you get later on in the game, once you're at about 100 or so AP and about 150 DP, upgrades start to cost in the tens of millions of silver. Once you get above about 150 AP, or even a bit higher, upgrade per 1 to 2 AP can be over 100 million silver per AP. Once you get super late in the game, when you're going for Tet or Pen items, you're looking at over 1 billion silver just to get like 3 or 4 AP sometimes. So silver is huge in this game. And when you first start out, it's going to seem like you're always broke. You never have enough. You'll have some rewards that you'll get eventually for leveling up and stuff that'll give you a few million silver, but it won't be very much. It'll be enough to get you your starting gear though, and it'll be enough to get you your Blackstones. So earning money is huge, and there's 3 main ways to earn money. Well, 2. There's active and AFK, and then there's subsets of AFK money, so 3. So active money is grinding. That's pretty much what active money is. You can also do gathering and stuff actively, but for real active money, it's grinding. And grinding is the best money per hour in the game because it's the most active. Most spots later in the game will give you about 7 to 12 million silver on average, with the best spots, such as Sausins and Pirates, giving about 15 million silver an hour, if not more. And even more if you're lucky, because a lot of spots have certain drops that are about a 1 in 3,000 chance. Rare jewelry for the most part. And those are, if you get one of those, your money per hour obviously goes way up, but we factor those into the average, because you won't get those that often. So grinding is your biggest set of money, but most people cannot dedicate 5 or 6 hours a day to grinding to make 50, 60 million a day. And early on, when you don't have the money, to get the gear to grind properly or in the best spots, you won't even make that much when grinding. So after grinding, because you cannot grind all day, there's AFK money making, and this is the big one. AFK money making comes from two different sources. You've got your worker empire, which are basically slaves, and you can see those with this little pickaxe up here once you get your first worker. So I bring it up. This is my worker empire. They all work for me. They bring valuable items into my storage. Few, each of them makes me several thousand, several tens of thousands per hour, and some of them can make over a million per day. So once your worker empire is fully set up, and once you've farmed enough CP using cooking and doing quests, you can be making over 10 to 20 million a day just from your worker empire, as long as you keep them properly fed with beer or other worker foods, because they have stamina bars. And so workers come in three types at the moment: goblins, humans, and giants. Goblins are the fastest, but only have 8 stamina. So goblins are best for people that are online a lot, every 2 to 3 hours. As long as you can check in every 2 to 3 hours, goblins can make you tons of money. However, if you can't check in that often, they'll run out of stamina after only doing 8 tasks. Giants are the other end of the spectrum. They have a ton of stamina. I want to say it's something like 30. It's huge. They can do things for like over a day. However, they have slow work speed, so a giant can take like double the time of a goblin to do the same task, if not more, depending on the task if it's far away. Because giants have slow move speed, which means they're slow to get to the nodes. Because you send all your workers will live in your main cities. So you got Velia, not that, Alvia, and then you send them to nodes. So for example, if we look at Alvia, you've got my storage here, and we send them to the Casta farm. So I've got someone here, a professional giant worker, doing grapes. And this is really close. So a giant can do this really well because his slow movement doesn't really matter because it's right next to town. However, I also have people from Alvia working, not on the Tuscany farm, in the Forest of Seclusion. And there I've got a goblin because it's far away, well, much farther away than the grapes anyways. I've got to go through multiple nodes to get here because as you can see, hop, 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 do. And so the goblin is a lot better there because even though I can only check every 4 or 5 hours due to work usually, I can still make the goblins perform better than the giants. And then humans are kind of in the middle. They have uh, double the stamina of a goblin. They have 17 as opposed to 8. They're much faster than giants. Well, not much faster, but faster. Not as fast as a goblin, but definitely faster than a giant. And they have a higher luck stat as well. So humans are kind of in the middle. If you can check every 6 or 7 hours, as opposed to once a day, humans are best. If you can check once a day, giants are best. If you can check every 2 or 3 hours, goblins are best. And there's plenty of guides on YouTube. Moralin, Biohack, they've all got guides on how to properly set up your worker empire so you can make optimal money. And that's the worker empire. The other way to make AFK income is there's AFK activities. You can train horses just by setting yourself some waypoints. And then if you set that waypoint and then come back to yourself, you can set it to auto path to yourself, and then you can just leave that for hours, which will train the horse. The big ones, though, horse training is not considered a steady form of profit because it's all RNG and if you get good horses or not, and horses with good sellable skills. The main ones people use are AFK processing and AFK fishing. And most AFK fishers, when you do your red nose quest over in Velia, you'll see right next to where you are a ton of people on the beach at the Velia hotspot, all fishing AFK. And those are the two best ways. So fishing is slightly worse money. Before you set them both, they can both earn fairly good money per hour. Processing usually edges out fishing by a bit, but fishing is, you don't have to buy new materials all the time. You just have to sell to the Imperial Trader and sell and get a decent trade level and sell to the traders in faraway towns. But for both of them, they require a bit of real money investment if you want to get the most money out of it. Because if I just bring up the Pearl Shop here, for processing, it's basically about how much weight you can fit in your inventory. And you can buy each of these once for a maximum of plus 500 to your weight. Your character level will improve the amount of weight you can afford. to carry. So for example, this character can only afford to carry 340, and 100 of that is actually from my value pack, so she actually only carries 240 without that. Your belt will give you extra weight capacity. There's armor, such as the Hercules set, that will give you extra weight capacity. And all of this will contribute to how much you can carry, which will determine how much you can fit in your inventory of a certain item that you're processing. And then the other big thing for processing is, if I go to costume here, the Venesil dress set, the maid outfit. For male characters, it is the Karki outfit. And this allows you to use the items in the storage for processing with this costume on. Which means you don't have to have the items in your inventory, because most items, for example, timber, so I bring up this for a second, you can see that ash timber has a weight of 0.5 LT, which means my character, who can carry 340 right now, could carry 680 of those if I was carrying nothing else. However, when you're processing, it takes 5 timbers to make one item. And eventually, as you get your processing level up, it'll become a 1 to 2.5, or 1 to 2 ratio pretty much, because you're going to get 2.5 on average with every process of 5, so you're basically making 1 to 2. But what that means is because the finished product has the same weight as the beginning product of 0.5, you can see that. Do I have any of that item here? No, I'll just go to, so down here. So you process the cedar timber into a cedar plank, and you process cedar planks into cedar plywood. And so you process 5 of these, and you get 2.5 of these, so 10 to 5. And then you'll do 10 to 1 for these, which is 10 to 2.5, so 20 to 5. And what that means is you're carrying your inventory, you're only going to have half your weight used up by the time you're done processing. Whereas if you process from the storage, you can double the amount you can process. So that's how the cash shop helps processing. For fishing, you don't need weight, you need inventory. And you can have a maximum of 192 slots. So you can buy this one multiple times and just use it until you have 192 slots. And then you'll also need, well, you'll probably want the fishing set, because the fishing set lets you fish faster, which means while you're AFK fishing overnight, you will get more fish and fill your inventory faster, and you can come back in less time, so say 8 hours instead of 10 without the outfit, to an inventory full of fish. And then the other item you'd probably want is a brand stone, because your fishing rod, every time you catch a fish or catch a piece of garbage, you'll use 1 durability on your fishing rod up, and you can repair your fishing rod. However, fishing rods can only get to a max durability of about 100. And what that means, if you've got an inventory of 192 and you need about 300 casts because of all the garbage you're throwing away, that even if you've got stuff to make your item degrade slower, you're still going to be having your fishing rod break before your inventory is full. However, if you brand it, the durability consumption is reduced by 50%, which means you can catch double the amount of fish with the same durability. And so that's only 400 pearls, which is pretty cheap. It's the rest of the stuff, such as the Splatfisher set for 2200, and all of the inventory, which is a bunch of money for all that inventory, because you need about 130, which is quite a bit. And for processing, you need all the weight, which is still pretty hefty as well. And so generally, if you do one, you don't really need to do the other. And if you don't want to invest in either of them, I would recommend just doing fishing, because you can fill up an inventory with fishing and get a good fishing rod and join a decent guild and do fishing pretty much worry-free a lot more easily than processing, and just process your stuff every once in a while that you get from your... you can process your stuff while you're there, or check in once every hour, so kind of like active processing, while you're at your computer, which you get from your workers. Usually what your workers are bringing... This is all the stuff your workers are bringing in usually. So I've got workers bringing in timber, I've got them bringing in powder, which comes with the copper ore and the iron ore and stuff. So your workers bring all that in, you can process it, and then if you're doing AFK processing, you're probably, before you've got a really good worker empire setup full of artisan workers and about 250, 300 CP, you're probably going to need to keep buying stuff out the market to process. Even once you do, you're still going to need to buy stuff out the market like coal, secondary products that you can use to make the main stuff that you get a lot of, like iron ore, into steel. So that's the AFK money, and that stuff's huge. And then for Pearl Shop items, so if you decide you're serious about the game, you bought the game, you like it, you played for a week, there's a few Pearl Shop items that will make your life a lot easier. So a big one is pets. As you can see, my 4 little pets down here. And what pets do is they auto loot for you. So I'll just chase over here, kill the grass beetle, the pet picks it up. Kill the grass beetle, a pet will pick it up. Kill the grass beetle, grass beetle. And so you see, I can pick it up, and a pet comes over and picks it up. And that is huge, especially when you're grinding, because honestly, continuously pressing R to pick stuff up is very annoying. It can get kind of tiring. It can tire your hand out. It sucks. So pets are the biggest thing. After pets, my biggest thing that I would suggest anyone buy, before you buy weight, before you buy anything else, is a transaction made. And what a transaction made does is it gives you a little, once you put it in a house, it lets you access the marketplace. Once every 20 minutes, you can access the marketplace and either register an item or buy an item from the marketplace without going to the market. And where this matters is when you're trying to buy, for example, let me go to Kriegsmesser, for example. Kazarka Kriegsmesser, even better. So it's mostly for buying boss gear that you want this. So if I want to buy a dandelion, well, we'll just look at unupgraded dandelions. 69 dandelions have gone on sale, unupgraded, since Dark Knight was released, which was a few months ago. But even so, that's less than a dandelion a day has gone on sale that has made it to the bid phase. And then the only one with a significant number is Try, which costs 500 million. And Dark Knight is the most played class in the game right now, which means that if you want to get a dandelion, you've either got to get really lucky and get it from the boss that drops it, Karanda, which is really difficult, or you can be really lucky and get it from the Night Vendor, who will sell it for a complete non-upgraded version, so marketplace value of 95 million, and he will sell it for anywhere between 95 million and 430 million, which is a lot of fucking money, which everyone will tell you is worth it for a dandelion for your main class, because dandelions are hard as hell to get, and it is the best piece of gear in the game, pretty much. One of the top 2 pieces of gear in the game, probably along with your Kazarka, which would be your main weapon. So for example, you've got Kazarka Kriegsmesser here. Actually, I've got a Kazarka for this character, just sitting here waiting for me to pick it up. And that is why the transaction made is big. And the other item it lets you bid on, the other big thing about it, is pearl items. Because pearl items, normal items, you have 15 minutes to get to the marketplace, and then it'll finally show up and you can start bidding. 15 to 20 minutes is random. Pearl items, you've got 1 minute. And they'll appear. They can appear right away, even if you're unlucky. If someone puts pearl item up, and then it ticks over to the next show all the items for this cycle on the marketplace, a pearl item can go up right away. And the big things you want to bid on for pearl items are value packs, costumes, and pets. So do not try to rely on sniping pets. I've been trying to snipe pets for 2 months now. I have still not managed to win a pet or a value pack, but I mean, I only got my maid about a month ago. So do not rely on sniping your pets to get your pets. I would just buy 3 or 4 pets and just use those. And if you manage to win pets later, you can actually breed pets to get better versions of pets, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 pets, which pick up slightly faster. I should probably put my pets away. You need to feed pets. That's part of it. So a marketplace, a transaction made, is probably the best thing you can get after pets. After that, there are 2 things that are tied. So I would suggest any class you're interested in playing, I would suggest play them to Awakening, or at the very least to about level 30 or 40, probably 50, because that's pretty easy to get to, and decide how much you like it by that point. Because yes, Awakening changes most classes in pretty huge ways. However, core gameplay of the class will remain somewhat similar. Witch and Wizard does not suddenly become the only one that really changes hugely is Ranger, because she goes from a bow user to a sword user. The rest of them all kind of retain a sort of core gameplay theme. So before you start investing in a character, hugely anyways, before you make their weapons duo or anything like that, try and play them all. And then for your main, I would buy weight, because when you're grinding, you will very quickly fill up with weight, and then you'll go put it on your horse, and you'll keep grinding, and you fill up again. And there is a small compromise to this. If you don't want to buy weight for a character yet, because you still haven't decided which character you want to play, you still can't figure it out, you can get a storage maid. And a storage maid, once every 20 minutes, allows you to access your storage, the nearest capital city storage. So just bring the storage maid up. This is the storage in Velia, because I'm in the Balanos region, and I can take an item out. Once every 20 minutes, I can take an item out or put an item in, and you can put a stackable item, such as the Imped Torn Ornament, or money, for example, up to 100 LT worth. So I do that again. That's both my storage uses, because I use one to take it out, and I use one storage maid to put it back in. So those are the big purchases. After that, you don't really need an outfit. Outfits are nice, but you can snipe outfits. I've sniped outfits for most of my main classes. They go up fairly often. Usually Saturday night is when most of them go up, because that's when it resets. And you can just try to snipe them. Inventory is nice, but not really necessary as long as you manage it properly. Maybe one thing of inventory would be good, but storage maid can also help with inventory once every 20 minutes. And apart from that, I mean, there's definitely other value items here. There's Artisan's Memory, for example. If you have a ton of money to spend, this is the best bang for your buck once you start upgrading boss gear, because this will save you 1.5 mil for every 750,000 silver you spend when you're upgrading boss gear, without factoring in Blackstone costs. When you're recovering the max durability. And then apart from that, there's the costumes. For example, the fishing costume is big if you want to do fishing. The Venesil costume is big if you want to do processing. If you do want to do horse training, horse training is a very good thing to do. The Venia riding attire helps with that. The ghillie suits hide your name and your guild name, so people can't really see who you are, which can also make people afraid to attack you, because if you've got a ghillie suit, it usually means you're a bit more hardcore. Unfortunately, all outfits are bound to a class, which is kind of stupid, and it's the same with weight and inventory. You buy inventory on someone, you've bought inventory for that character only. You do not get that inventory for another character. If my Dark Knight has maximum weight, that does not mean that this Meiwa has maximum weight, which is basically so they can sell more weight inventory. That's the reason. But yeah, those are the big Pearl Shop purchases. And so yeah, so basically, you want to figure out in the first few weeks how you want to play the game. Do you want to be a super serious PvPer? If so, you can just skip if you want to, you can just skip the Black Spirit quest, do the quick leveling rotation that I showed. Go down here, up here, Gerudo's, Refugee Camp, Marnie's Lab, Chimeras, Sonal Camp, Manchester Catfishman. Go over, find a sauce in the group, hit 56, and then try and grind your way to 58 or 59. You can basically hit 59, 0.001% XP away from 59. On Alvia server, try to use that time while you're uncontested. If you want to just play the game casually, try and figure out a way to make AFK money, and just try and have fun. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can do in this game. You can process, you can do life skills, join a guild. Guilds are pretty fun. Try to find a guild that suits your taste. If you only want a life skill or gather or something, try and find a guild that wants to do that. If you want to be a serious PvPer, look for a Node War guild that can train you up and give you good advice. And yeah, try and figure out what your main is and just go from there. So yeah, that's roughly what you should be doing in your first few weeks of playing, and yeah, have fun.